Drew DeArmond, I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Always good to be on with you, Ryan. It's great. It's the holiday season. I thought we might be playing some Mele Kalikimaka, but we did not. But Jingle Bell Rock's all a classic, man.
I got you. Now, are you ready for Christmas? Have you finished all your shopping, and or are you like me that just someone's never started yet?
One more gift.
Oh,
one more.
So you're actually prepared. So you only got one more gift?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct. I hope to get that this week and take care of everything, but almost done, my friend. Did some on Friday, though. It was madness as expected here in the Rocket City.
Oh, glory. Yeah. I mean, like I have pulled into stores, and I'm not brave enough to go in.
I can understand that, man. It's a zoo this time of year, especially on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So we're about 8 days away from Christmas. What you get, Nick Saban?
Hopefully, Nick Saban's got a nice bit of motivation from his good friend Kirby Freeze. I mean, smart. After what I thought was just a pathetic display after the SEC championship game. Hopefully, though, there was a nice shot of motivation and reinvigoration, and he continues to spur Nick Saban on to coach for as long as possible to be the thorn in the side of the guy for 2 straight years that's choked like a DAWG in a big game.
Ooh, true. Man, you seem like have you run into some dog fans or something?
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just listening to Kirby Smart over here at 97.7 The Zone, and you're not going to believe this, man. In talking up the Texas Longhorns, he brought up Herschel Walker and how his players have never even seen Herschel except on, of course, a video screen, or don't even remember the great Robert Edwards that played with Kirby. So I thought that was funny, and I thought, yeah, Kirby, they don't ever remember Herschel Walker because they've never won anything except an SEC championship ring. They've never won the big ring. They've never seen the championship trophy, and they'll be watching the college football playoff at home again because you like to be faking punts on 4th and 11. So have a nice off season, my friend.
Wow. Drew DeArmond. It's not even giving Kirby any love on the Christmas. I was going to say, what'd you give Kirby for Christmas, but I don't think there's any need. Drew,
you know what I got him, man? I got him a Herschel Walker jersey.
Well, you should have given him the playbook. You know, these coaches, and Coach Bryant used to do that too. You know, there's a playbook. If it's 3rd and 3, we do this. If it's 3rd and 2, you do this. If it's 4th and 11, and you're lining up in a punt formation, punt the football. I'm sure that's what it said. But maybe you should get him one of those coaching cards.
Well, you know how it is, man. When he was at Alabama, he was called 3rd in Kirby. Last year, he was 2nd in Kirby. And now this year, he's 4th in Kirby. And the bottom line is he's going to do what he always does, watch Nick Saban play for a national championship.
Drew, and I know you talk to people behind the scenes, so do I, and I tried to give some information a couple of minutes ago during the first segment, but were you shocked when they roll out practice on Friday that Tua is doing as much as he's doing?
Not really. I mean, because the way I look at it, if there was a time for Tua Tagovailoa to be injured during this season, Ryan, that was probably the most, as far as if you're talking about lucky timing and everything, because no one wants to be hurt. But when you have a break, an extended one, plus it's at the end of the semester, classes are winding down, and then you have an extended break for the holidays and then for the semester. If it's as far as timing for an injury, it came at a time when Tua Tagovailoa could get 24-hour treatment. As you've already pointed out, and I have too, Jeff Allen and his staff, I think the best in college football. Tua's a worker anyway. I mean, he's been driven very hard by his father. So honestly, I wasn't really that surprised. I mean, you never know if complications could arise, and I guess they still could. But realistically, I expected him to be out there, back out there with his teammates. He was probably moving a little bit better than I thought he would because I remember how gingerly Jalen Hurts moved. But I think, Tua's really been studious about it. I think Jeff Allen, and they know how important Tua is to the football team. He is QB1. And so I really wasn't that surprised that he was out there. And I've fully been expecting him to make this start against Oklahoma because that's the only way Alabama's going to finish this drill and try to become the first team to ever go 15-0. And that's with number 13 behind center.
All right, so that follow-up question, when you look at Oklahoma and Alabama, what style of play are you expecting? Because if you say what you just did, then you think Alabama's going to get in a little bit of a shootout.
Well, it's possible because Oklahoma is an elite offense. There is no question about it. And I don't think Alabama's going to be able to shut them down. I mean, they're too good. You got a 1-2 punch at running back. They're a very talented offensive team from their skill guys. Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks have been a good 1-2 punch at running back. Kennedy Brooks 1,000 yards, Trey Sermon nearly 1,000, 800 over 800 for Kyler Murray, and that's without Rodney Anderson. So they can run the football, and then they got C.D. Lamb, and they've got Hollywood Brown if he's available. And then, of course, they got a really good tight end as well who made the spectacular catch against Texas to seal that in Grant Calcaterra. So they've got a lot of skill guys that are scary, Ryan. They're going to move the ball. They're going to make plays. But if Alabama wants to march on and have a chance to play for 15-0 and number 18, they're going to have to score points. And I will say this, though. Stylistically, the kind of football they need to play is, if you go back and watch the game in Baton Rouge against LSU, they need to run the football like that for 200-plus yards and have, Tua Tagovailoa complement the running game with play-action passes and take vertical shots down the field, because I think they need to control the clock, because Kyler Murray and that offense can't score if they're on the sidelines. So a couple of very important things are going to be Alabama rushing for 200-plus yards in the game and controlling time of possession, which is going to be very important when you're playing against an elite offense like the Sooners have.
Well, I think that's the part. When you go out there and listen, they don't think that Alabama's defense is going to be able to stop their offense. They believe in their offense so much that they don't believe that Alabama's defense is going to be able to stop them one entire drive. In other words, they're going to impose their will like they've imposed it on some of those Big 12 teams, like Alabama's just going to roll over. I think they've got a different thing coming if that's truly their mindset. And then for Alabama fans, I think you said it right there. There's nothing on that defensive side of the football that gives you respect that they're going to be able to stop Alabama. So Vegas thinks it's going to be about a 40-40 type game, and I don't know how you can get there, but certainly Vegas has the line about 79.5 over under 80, somewhere in that lineup.
Well, I think Alabama can make some stops, and I do think if you go back and you look at Kyler Murray in the West Virginia game, if you look at Kyler Murray in the first game against Texas that they lost, he's had turnovers in games this year in big games. And I think Alabama can force him into some mistakes. Certainly they're going to move the ball. Certainly he's going to make plays. But it's going to be very important. I mean, and the reason Oklahoma beat West Virginia was because of turnovers and scoring on defense. Everybody talks about that elite offense, but they scored on defense too. And I think Alabama can turn over Kyler Murray. They just need to pressure him, need to stay in his face. He's 5'9". Get your hands up. There could be some, the defensive line. There could be deflected passes, which could lead to turnovers. But I think what Alabama's got to do, they've got to get 2 or 3 stops, and then they've got to force, a couple of turnovers. And that would be 4 or 5 times they stop Oklahoma's offense. If they do that, Alabama will be fine, because I think it's going to be very difficult for OU to stop Alabama, both with the run and, of course, throwing the football with Tua Tagovailoa. But I'll tell you this, everybody's going to talk about Tua's availability, and I definitely expect him to be behind center. But I think the key to the entire football game is for number 65, Deontay Cornbread Brown, to be at left guard. Because if he's at left guard, I think Alabama's offensive line is just as good as OU's, which is going to come in with an elite offensive line, along with Georgia and Alabama finalists for the Joe Moore Award. I think Alabama would be able to run the football whenever they've had Deontay Brown in the lineup. They've been able to run it on anyone, including Mississippi State. So if Deontay Cornbread Brown is healthy, and this break have come at an opportune time for him to get over this this turf toe. And I know he's been running with the 2s and Lester Cotton with the 1s, but I expect Deontay Brown to start in the game, and if he can stay healthy throughout the contest, Alabama should be able to run it all night long on the Boomer Sooners.
Drew, have you already given your prediction?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't really gone on record as saying the score.
No,
I mean,
we're not going to hold your feet to the fire, but, I mean, I'm already
right.
I mean, I could read between the lines here. You're pretty confident.
Oh, yeah, I'm very confident. If Tua Tagovailoa is healthy in this game, and I believe he will be, I mean, maybe not 100%, but very close. If Deontay Brown's in the lineup, and who knows, another $64,000 question is, will Terrell Lewis play in this game? I'm anxious to know if somebody's going to ask Nick Saban that in the press conference at 4, if Nick Saban will go over that. Nick Saban was adamant and told everybody ahead of time he would not play against Georgia, even though he was practicing. I've always wondered now that he's had a few more weeks to get well, would they play him in this semifinal against Oklahoma? Certainly he won't play a lot of snaps. If he did play, I think he would play 15 to 20, but he's a big-time pass rusher. You remember the big sack he had against Jake Fromm and Kirby Freeze? I mean, smart. And I think he could really, be a guy that could help contain Kyler Murray, because you know how it is, Ryan. They're going to be rushing the passer all night long. You're going to need depth in the game. You're going to need guys to play some snaps and give some guys a breather, especially on third down. And I'm anxious to see if Terrell Lewis, how much progress he's made in these last few weeks, and will he be on the field the 29th in Miami against OU.
Drew, let me walk into this early signing period. Nick Saban looks like to be able to have mastered the early signing period. It took him a little bit of adjustment period, but he's called the audible quite well. Looks like Alabama's primed and ready to go and take over a pretty big signing class on this early signing period.
Yeah, I think they're going to have the number one class in the country, I'll be honest with you. I think they're going to be able to make it happen. I know certainly there's been some angst from the, from the fans because they lost Kayvon Thibodeau this weekend to Oregon, and Mario Cristobal is an outstanding recruiter. And then Clay Webb, he had family ties to Athens, Georgia. So Kirby Smart, he actually, played all the angles perfectly. For once, I'll give him credit. I mean, I tip my hat. He got the number one player in the state of Alabama, but it's far from over. I think Alabama has got a few more bullets left, and I think they're going to, sign a really good early class. There'll certainly be a handful of guys they want to sign in February. I think they've gotten their board. They've got guys committed that they wanted to. They probably have 6 or 7 guys left that they're very interested in. And certainly Evan Neal, the big left tackle from IMG Academy, is going to be at the top of that list. And so I think it's going to be very interesting. Trey Sanders, Alabama, and Georgia are battling it out for the 5-star running back and the teammate of Evan Neal at IMG. So that's going to be an interesting kind of storyline coming up on Wednesday. But I think Alabama's going to get 85 to 90% of the hay in the barn. Then there'll be a few committed guys like a Christian Harris or a Chris Bogle, people like that are still out there, and then uncommitted guys like Ismail Sopsher and Henry Chioto that they still need to recruit. But I still think when it's all said and done, the cream's going to rise to the top. And Alabama finished 5th last year. I think they're going to be back at the top of the heap in recruiting for Nick Saban and the staff. And I think the good part is it looks as though the staff is going to be back mostly intact. We know Mike Loxley's moved on. Maybe there might be one other change, and then there's got to be another addition. But I think it's going to be another very strong group. And holding on to a guy like Josh Gaddis that looks like Nick Saban's going to hold on to is going to be big. And we'll see what happens with Pete Golding down the stretch. I know Oklahoma's still interested in him. I still think Pete Golding stays with Alabama, but certainly Nick Saban and his staff have done a great job with this recruiting class. And who knows, if it goes perfectly, it could be a historic finish. But I think regardless, it's going to be number one.
Drew D977 ESPN, Drew D977 ESPN on the Twitter account, 97.7 The Zone in Huntsville, Alabama. Drew, I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll all be excited for Nick Saban coming up at that podium in about an hour and 15 minutes. And probably a lot of things that you and I are discussing is some of the things that he'll discuss right there on that podium inside the Malmore Football Complex. Drew, thank you as always.
Thank you, Ryan. I always enjoy being on, and Merry Christmas to you and my man Marquise Money.
Now, hold on. Are you not going to be on next week? I mean, we were going to do a show on Christmas if you were willing to jump on.
Hey, if you're doing a show on Christmas, call me. But, I would assume Coach Gene Stallings would want to be on with you as well.
Hey, no doubt. Drew remembers the story. I'll never forget it all of my life. I'm sitting there with a group of people on a Christmas Eve, and I'm sitting there with my family. I look down at the phone calls, and Coach Stallings is calling me. And I guess I just assumed that he wasn't that we were taking the day off, right? He said, "Ryan, are you going to call me today, Coach? It's Christmas Eve." He said, "Coaches never take off Christmas Eve, and neither do radio guys." I'm sorry, Coach. My bad. We forgot to notify you. But, yeah, your good story reminder. Drew, Merry Christmas, man. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Always enjoy it, Ryan. You have a great rest of your program. And always enjoy being in the City of Champions on the longest-running radio program in Tuscaloosa on Tide 102.9. Thank you, man.